Hi guys, Aceface back with another video for Twisted Dice. Thanks very much for joining us today, and apology there was no video on Wednesday last week. Had quite a lot going on, so big apologies. But anyway, we're back today. Now, it's a funny old time at the moment within the 40k community because it's actually quite quiet and there's not huge volumes to talk about. But I've got a video today that hopefully you guys will find very interesting. So we're going to talk today about playtesters in 9th edition. Are they useful? Are they helping? What's the future of 40k in the kind of the new direction that Games Workshop are going in? I'd just be really interested to hear your thoughts, and I'm going to share mine today. Before we get started, if you do like the video, please do hit the thumbs up button. It helps us out tons. Let us know in the comments, as I said, what your thoughts are. And if you haven't already, make sure you subscribe to the channel. Helps us out tons, and put your notifications on so when we do put up a video, and most important when we put up that juicy battle report that comes every Friday, you're first to know about it. But let's jump into this video. So I'm going to take a few steps back and talk about obviously the old game, because it wasn't that long ago. We're only talking about 3-4 years ago that actually, as a community, and particularly as a competitive community, we were very much in the dark. So we didn't really know what was going on. We didn't know when releases were coming. FAQs were pretty much very rare, very few and far between, and everybody was very much trying to deal with a game that was in many ways broken, and Games Workshop really didn't seem particularly interested in reaching out and getting feedback from the community. Now things have changed massively. We've got a long way from that, and in 8th edition Games Workshop made a huge effort to reach out and to get some very key people involved. And obviously at the start of 8th edition, we know that Frontline Gaming were instrumental in supporting Games Workshop, for finding out a little bit more about what we needed from this new edition and how to massively rebuild this game from the floor up. And they did a fantastic job, and I know that the guys over at Frontline Gaming were very, very instrumental in that. And things have continuously evolved since then. So now we're in 9th edition. Communication continues to be pretty good on the whole, and FAQs do tend to be quite regular. We know that there is a big group of playtesters. That's not a secret, and a lot of the main playtesters Games Workshop reference quite heavily and have quotes from them in their articles, and that's where a lot of this video came from today, because we had the most recent video. We've got on there comments from playtesters, from Nick Nalavadi, from Stephen Box, and from Mike Brent. So look, these people are very influential in the community and play at a competitive level, and letting you know their thoughts on the changes and the new updates that are coming. The interesting thing in the conversation that I thought I would share with you is kind of my thoughts with this. So I've always been a little bit torn on what I believe about this. So let's start off with the positives. Now the positives are that it's fantastic that these guys that are really live and breathe the game are involved at a kind of grassroots level. And I don't know Nick and I don't know Mike, but I do know Stephen a little bit, and obviously I know that Lawrence over at Tabletop Tactics is very much involved in 9th edition as well at the start, and I also know other play testers as well. So I know these guys, and they are massively passionate about the game. They only want the game to be fantastic, and because more often than not, for these guys, it is almost like their full-time job. So they are professionals within the community and within the game. So it is actually in their interest to make sure we have a game set that is really functional and works well. So, from that point of view, we're in a great place, because we've got people that really care, that are not necessarily on Games Workshop. They're not within the company, but they are lovers of the game and they want the game to be successful, because one, it impacts them directly, but also it's the game that they love. So from that point of view, that's great. And I do think, with Nick, you've got a very, very professional guy who's one of the first quote-unquote professional tournament players, and has been very successful and does play a lot. We know that Stephen is a great player and has done amazing work in the community to try and get people more involved and more up to speed in the tournament scene, which is fantastic. And obviously Mike has run the Nova tournament for a long time, and it's one of the most successful tournaments. So we've got people with real pedigree of doing fantastically well within the community. But ultimately, we're looking at a thing that's very subjective. So we're looking at something that within the game, these are players that play tournaments. You know, they're involved in the tournament scene. They'll show up at a tournament next week. You know, they are going to know what's good in the game. That gives them a massive advantage over other players, and that also can influence, you know, what they want from the game. You know, how they want to play, what their play style is. Now, obviously, we hope that doesn't, and I think most of the time, people that they are able to raise above that. But there's no two ways about it. Games Workshop are putting a lot of, you know, are listening to people that may have a different agenda. That can be quite dangerous. And I'm just really interested to hear your thoughts on that, you know, because there's quite a lot of like knocking of playtesters, and I think they get a bad rep, and I think that's not fair, because I think on the whole the game has got better and better, and a lot of that comes down to the playtesters. But how are we picking these playtesters? You know, are we using the right method? How are Games Workshop going about choosing these people? Is it, you know, just people with a big presence? Is it kind of, you know, who's friends with who? Where's the transparency of who's getting picked for this? Because that's really, really interesting, because everybody's going to have a little agenda, you know, everyone's going to have a reason why they want to be involved in it. Some of them is just financial gain because it's their business outside of being a playtester, so it benefits them. Other people, you know, it's you know, it's a way of them, you know, elevating their status. So it's a really interesting subject to kind of work out, you know, what's the mindset behind it? How are these people held to account? You know, so how do we know? And again, because of the agreements that these guys sign, obviously we don't know the ins and outs of their influence within the playtesting system. We believe that there's plenty of tiers of playtesters, so some people are more influential in that building of the rule set than others. But we don't know exactly how that works, you know. So, you know, due to that, when we're blaming playtesters for the state of a codex, you know, you look at Dark Eldar, for instance. Are Dark Eldar, you know, the misses within that codex where we've, you know, where things have been potentially undercosted in points? There are rules, kind of, you know, interpretations there, and, you know, gaps in that rule set that people are abusing. You know, is that because that's how they wanted it to be, because they had other codexes in mind? Is it because is it just a miss? Is it because they generally want them to be that powerful? Is it the case that the playtesters have said to Games Workshop this is a problem, and Games Workshop have tried to do it anyway? These are the things that we don't get that idea, and we don't know how that communication happens and where we go with it. You know, so, you know, when things come out that are particularly broken, or a miss, swing and a miss, or what have you, or get through an FAQ without changing, the immediate reaction from a community is, you know, that's the playtester's fault. They should have playtested it. Why have we got playtesters? But actually, had the playtesters actually told Games Workshop and they haven't made that change? Or had the playtesters gone, well, actually, hang on a minute, I like that. That's going to be really powerful. That'll be fun. I'm going to use that. We don't know. Now, as I said, that's far out, and I don't believe that playtesters want broken armies to use and abuse. I don't think that at all, because a playtester is invested in the game, and if the game falls apart because too many things are broken and abused, then the game starts to die, and that's no good for them. So it makes no sense for these prominent people that are playtesting to allow these things to be broken. But they will have opinions. They will have opinions on what they feel is broken from their testing. And also there's stuff that they will think, that is really cool, I want to use that. Absolutely, it might be a bit strong. But so look, as I said, look, I'm not pointing fingers. I'm not making any blame. I just think it's a really interesting conversation, something I'm absolutely fascinated in. As you know, I'm pretty active in the community. I know a lot of these people. I have the respect to not ask them questions that I know that they can't answer, because I think that's unfair. You know, these guys, they sign agreements for a reason, and that's really, really cool. And I think by and large, they do a cracking job, and I think things continue to improve, and everything's a learning curve, and I'm a great believer in that. And I think we are on a great pathway to an even better game in the future. But it does really interest me, and you know, and particularly, you know, as a Tyranid player, when I look at those kind of the names on that sheet, and well, not on that sheet, but the names of the people that I know that are involved in playtesting, I'm not necessarily sure I'm seeing any big Tyranid players in there. And you might say, well, it doesn't matter, they playtest everything. Well, you say that, but you know, if you're an avid Eldar player of whatever sorts, or you play Marines, or you play whatever it might be, ultimately, you know, you kind of love that faction. You have a real interest. You want the game to be healthy, and you want armies to be good. Everybody wants that. But, you know, are they really playing it? Do they know the integrals and issues with an army? Do they have that love and detail of the Tyranid, you know, what the problems that Tyranid players have had for the last however many years? You know, but maybe there is somebody in there. Maybe there's someone there that really plays Tyranids, that's really into it and knows it. But is it just somebody who, you know, who's just played Genestealer Spam and Swarmlord and has just played the meta Tyranid? Is there people in there that are actually invested in the armies? And that worries me if there's not, because, you know, there are prominent people that talk about it in the past, and the fact of, you know, sometimes armies get a bad rep because good players don't play them because they're not their faction. There are some, but there aren't a huge amount of like really good players that their favourite army is Tyranids. There are, I mean, you know, you only got to look at like John Lennon is probably a Tyranid player at heart. So that there are good players up there, but a lot of players have moved away from Tyranids such a long time ago, don't represent that faction, don't know the integrals and the details of that codex as a large. You know, are the right things being fed back to Games Workshop to make sure when that codex comes forward that it has the things that it really needs to give that codex play in a competitive environment, but also still have its roots in kind of a, you know, a narrative driven background. And these are just really interesting things. So look, I could go on about the subject for hours and hours, but I just thought it was something that was in my mind as I was reading the stuff that's coming through around the next chapter approved. And I just wanted to talk about it with you guys. So hopefully it's interesting for you. It's got your mind going, you know. Games Workshop, if you want a Tyranid playtester, reach out to me, because I would love to do it. And I'm fascinated in the process. But hopefully it's been interesting for you guys, and it's not just been a wild ramble. So, but until the next video, I'm Aceface, and I'll see you soon. Bye for now.